Spoiler warning. Spoilers for Castlevania Nocturne and Castlevania. Please do not watch this video unless you've watched both Castlevania and Castlevania Nocturne on Netflix or you don't care about spoilers. There are also spoilers for the Owl House. So if you haven't watched the Owl House and you do care about spoilers, please don't watch this. Just a month ago, as of the writing of this video, Castlevania Nocturne released. It's a distant sequel / spin-off to the critically acclaimed Castlevania TV series that was released between 2017 and 2021. First off, we need to provide a synopsis to Castlevania, which is inspired by the game franchise of the same name. Castlevania is about Trevor Belmont, a crass-drunk vampire hunter who joins forces with powerful witch Cypher Balnadis and the half-vampire son of Dracula, Alucard, to stop Dracula's rampage against humanity spurred by his wife's death. While Dracula is killed by the end of Season 2 of this 4-season series, his remaining followers seek his revival for the later 2 seasons. This is masterminded by Death, who wants to use Dracula's devastation to feed on as many souls as possible, but Trevor ultimately stops him with a suicide pact dagger. Trevor turned out to be alive and he learned that he's going to be a father the last time we see him, but this isn't about him. Now, on to Castlevania Nocturne. While the original series takes place during the 1470s, Nocturne takes place during the French Revolution or the 1790s. It's about Richter Belmont, the descendant of Trevor and Cypher, who has come to France to stop a vampire conspiracy to blot out the sun. Only one season is out, but it deserves a watch. While the original is at 8.3 out of 10 on IMDb, Nocturne is at 7.6 out of 10 on IMDb. Anyways, I'm here to discuss what the problem with Nocturne is. But first, please remember to like, subscribe, and share for more content, as every view means the world to me. The biggest problem with Nocturne is that it's stuck in its predecessor's shadow. The original series was critically acclaimed for its crude humor, art, characters, fan service for fans of the games, and witty commentary. In a vacuum, Nocturne could stand on its own, but as there's only one season, it's even harder for it to live up to its successor. First off, there's the humor. The original had lots of funny scenes due to Trevor constantly swearing and teaching Alucard and Cypher to swear, much to their chagrin, Death talking like a potty-mouthed Scotsman, and more. In fact, here's a reel.
Please. This is me. How do you think I've managed to stay single and carefree all these years?
Can someone please come over here and kill this man?
Why is it that only human hands can reach into hell? Don't you think that's weirdly fucked up?
Oh my god. I'm turning into Belmont.
Would you please leave my testicles alone? Don't make anything, you don't live. You just eat and hide.
Is there a point to this? Are you dictating your fucking obituary to me, Belmont?
I'd been told that vampires couldn't cross running water.
I've been on boats, I've had baths.
When?
Baths aren't running water, though, are they?
You like something to eat?
I prefer something to drink.
Arn, bring our friend some water.
Oh,
The tone of the humor for Nocturne isn't the same as the original. There's Maria called Richter a wanker, and Elizabeth going on a deadpan rant about how much she hates the sun as if she's describing her ex, but it's lacking the impact of the original, even though both moments had me laughing. I'll give you a reel of Nocturne's funniest moments.
Why come here? What's so special about here?
Ham and beans. The local ham and beans is pretty sensational. Makes local blood nice and smoky.
God, you're a wanker.
My sisters are all rather sprightly tonight. She is very excited, of course. Soon we will force our father, Amun-Ra, the sun, down on his knees to grovel in the mud for mercy. But there will be no fucking mercy. I will cut off his head and suck out his brains and spit them into the dust.
I have my spies.
Ooh, spies everywhere. Thanks for dinner.
Well, you know what they say about a free dinner?
Do they say anything?
They say, go back to where you came from and don't expect another one. Or maybe that's just me.
they're afraid of the dark.
Part of it is due to Castlevania's head right of Warren Ellis' departure, and I understand why they had to get rid of him, because of some of his problematic behavior. Thus, the humor of Nocturne feels like it's trying too hard to imitate the original's humor, instead of trying to find its own humor. Also, there are moments of the animation feels a bit clunky, but I would be lying if I didn't say that the fight scenes stood out. I feel like Season 2 will be much better than Season 1 due to ending on a cliffhanger of Alucard showing up in the end. Next, I feel like I should talk about what Castlevania Nocturne's strengths are and how they compare to the original Castlevania series. I will have to admit Nocturne's characters feel like they're not trying to imitate the original's cast. Richter feels like a younger, less jaded, but more fearful Trevor, but he's different as he uses Sypha's elemental magic as well as vampire hunter weapons. So we have mobile mages of the same abilities on the same team? No. Maria can summon the 4 auspicious beasts from Chinese mythology, being able to use the black torches as a platform or a shield, the vermilion birds as long-range attacks and the means of transport, and the white tiger as a fast heavy hitter, but the azure dragon is nowhere to be seen. Also, while Trevor and Sypha fall in love and continue the Belmont bloodline, the dynamic between Richter and Maria is that of brother and sister, as Richter was sent to France to live with Maria and her mother Tara after his mother Julia was killed by the vampire Olrox. Due to Trevor's union with the speaker Sypha mean that the Belmonts had speakers as distant cousins. Next there's Annette, who is also overhauled a lot from the original. The character overalls I don't mind that much as I haven't played the Castlevania games, even though I've played Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, which is worth a play for any Castlevania fan. And even if I was a hardcore Castlevania fan, I would be all for the reinventions of my childhood classics. Annette is an escaped slave, a descendant of a god of war iron known as Ogun, that lured Voodoo to avenge her mother, who was killed by a vampiric slave owner. Seeing her turn stone and metal around her into her weapons and bridges is pretty cool to watch, and she feels like a next-gen Alucard that doesn't blatantly follow the predecessor's footsteps and carves her own path. For the villain, Elizabeth Bavary feels like a completely different character from Dracula, despite the fact that they both fulfill the overpowered vampire lord slot. While Dracula is tragic with him having wanted to be left alone until Lisa charmed him with her wit, kindness, and courage, before they had 20 years of martial blitz that brought the sun into the world, cut short by Lisa being burnt at the stake, which resulted in Dracula going on a suicidal rampage to try and kill as many humans and vampires as he can before he goes down, and ultimately being redeemed. Elizabeth feels a lot more like death, in her foul humor being truly vile. Elizabeth is a sadistic mass murderer with a god complex, and her vileness is a perfect mirror for Dracula's tragicness. Drota feels like an outlet take on Carmilla. While Carmilla had her own ambitions, one to build an empire once Dracula is out of the way, working for him only due to opportunism, Drota is fanatically loyal to Elizabeth. And while Carmilla didn't really shine in her fight scenes, as she's not much of a warrior, Drota always managed to keep viewers on edge of their seats in her fight scenes until she got unceremoniously dehydrated by Alucard. While the majority of the cast have clear parallels with the cast of the original, there are moments that each makes them stand out in their own way. One example would be the very first fight scene, the fight between Julia and Olrox. Julia used both weapons and magic, and she manages to force Olrox to turn into Coatl, and even then Julia gets distracted by her son's presence is the only reason why she loses the fight and her life. The fact that Olrox is the first vampire able to kill a fully fledged Belmont on screen raised the stakes in a way similar to Akaza killing Rengoku at the end of Demon Slayer's Mugen Train arc. Both cases flesh out the supernatural villains as legit threats that aren't invincible, and establishes that the heroes can be killed. The loss of his mother also hangs like a shadow over each of Richter's future encounters with Olrox, due to the promise that he'll kill Richter once he is old enough to pose a threat to him. In fact, when Richter sees Olrox again, he immediately turns the opposite. He immediately runs the opposite direction as far as he can, losing any composure he had. It is revealed that Aurochs didn't kill Julia just for being a vampire hunter, but because she killed his boyfriend who was harboring noble ideas just for being a vampire. This establishes that Julia wasn't a shining paragon of justice. It reestablishes that not all vampires are evil. While Julia had to be punished for killing Aurochs' lover, her being impaled through the heart, how fitting, in front of her young son wasn't the way to do it. Anyways, I need to talk about the socio-political commentary. As Castlevania Nocturne takes place during the French Revolution, it had to have commentary on the politics of the time. For the original, which was take place in the Renaissance era, it had a pretty profound take on organized religion. Religion could be used as a means of comfort, which is how it should be used, but is more often not turned into an excuse. The incident that spurs the series event is Lisa being burnt at the stake by the corrupt Church of Wallachia, resulting in her husband of 20 years writing history's longest suicide note, and the bishop is used as an allegory for the flaws of organized religion, the hypocrisy, the self-exoneration, the corruption, the greed, the condemnation of the other. In episode 4 of the first season, Bluefang is able to enter the church as the bishop had fallen out of God's graces, and while he lies, convincing himself that God's still on his side, Bluefang's the demon drops the cold hard facts. While Bluefang's may be a demon, he is not a liar. This whole scene works to show how the bishop is closer to the devil than the god he claims to represent before he gets his face ripped off. However, it shows that not all religious people are bad, as there is one priest who's making holy water to face off against demons who genuinely believes in God's cause and is doing his work. In fact, let's see that scene between the bishop and Bluefangs.
Who's that? Are the speakers dead? No. Well, get back out there. The speakers have to die before the sun goes down.
The sun is already down.
Enter the house of God.
God is not here. This is an empty box.
God is in all his churches.
Your God's love is not unconditional. He does not love us. And he does not love you.
I have done his bidding. My life's work is in his name.
Your life's work makes him puke.
I am the Bishop of Greshit.
Your God knows that we wouldn't be here without you. This is all your fault, isn't it?
She was a witch.
Lies in your house of God? No wonder he has abandoned you. But we love you. We love you. We couldn't be here without you. Let me kiss you.
Now, on to Nocturne. Nocturne continues its predecessor's criticisms of organized religion with Abbot Emmanuel. He is a corrupt priest, but this time he is willingly serving the demonic instead of being a useful idiot for the demonic like the Bishop of Wallachia. Leading up to the French Revolution, the seriously unequal state system was held up by the clergy telling the impoverished masses that this inequality is God's will, while hoarding wealth like dragons. Tara had a love affair with Emmanuel that resulted in Maria's conception, but it's clear that she's angry at him, that he's no longer a man of God, as he now worships on the altar of power. And his demonic pact was made to retain the power he had as a clergyman, as the people of France were beginning to question if God really wanted a system designed by wealthy oligarchs to parasitize the masses to make themselves wealthier. Both the Bishop of Wallachia and Father Emmanuel serve a purpose as walking critiques of organized religion very well. They reflect on how real-world religion has been used to justify inequality, greed, violence, hubris, and other abominations. Another scene, this time a scene that the original lacked, was colonialism, due to the original Castlevania taking place 16 years before Columbus arrived in the Americas to fuck everything up. The central theme of Nocturne seems to be the natural order, with the villains believe that the inequality and devastation they cause is all part of a higher power's will by being the natural order, while the revolutionary heroes are questioning if that inequality is natural. With making Annette black during the Age of Revolution, they had to address slavery. For her, plantation work was harsh and the punishments were severe, and other than the fact that literal vampires ran the plantation is a disturbingly realistic take on the enslavement of Africans by colonists. As a teenager, Annette joins the Haitian Revolution to cast the slave owners out, but their former master, her mother's murderer, he flies away just when she's about to stake his sorry yellow ass. So she goes to Europe to hunt him down with her fellow rebel Edward, and eventually she's able to corner him and trap him like the winged rat in the cage he is. The slave owner is reduced to mansplain that Annette's freedom is unnatural, and while she is unmoved by his pathetic ranting and lets the sun rise on him, showing him the true natural order. It honestly feels like seeing Owl House spoilers, Bells' death at the end of the Owl House all over again, where the evil white man who represents the evils of colonialism is stripped of his power, cornered by the woman of color protagonist that he's victimized in the past. It is reduced to mansplain at her. His words fall on deaf ears before he gets done in by nature taking its course. Even though the slave owner didn't get stomped flat by the vengeful found family of his former victim turned punisher, let's show them side by side.
I haven't forgotten the way you cower before the Christian God. That smell? Burning flesh. You should know it well. I'm not the one in the cage.
I'm sure you wake up some mornings with the smell of burnt sugar in the back of your throat and forget you ever left. That's because you're not free. Born in chains to a woman in chains. Some people look backwards and forwards and all they see are slaves. You, your people, my property. It means you can kill me. But Erzsébet will never be defeated. She will destroy everyone and everything you love.
It always does.
I'd have to say that the socio-political commentary of Castlevania Nocturne is very well done. Similar to the commentary of the original Castlevania, it manages to be relevant to the time period where both are major moments in history where people began to question their spiritual and political leaders. Also, Nocturne's release date is pretty relevant, as in Canada we are becoming more and more aware of colonialism in the form of residential schools and the missing and murdered Indigenous women, both of which are due to colonial structures that made the lives, the dignities, the cultures, the languages, and the spiritualities of its Indigenous inhabitants being treated as if they had less intrinsic value than those of white settlers. The dead bodies of children killed for refusing to conform into the mold of residential schools, and of Indigenous women that have been unceremoniously dumped into dumps, they are on the news. I learned more about the residential schools in school than my mother did, and she was alive during the residential schools, while I was born only a few years after the last one closed. People like Christopher Columbus and Sir John A. Macdonald are being viewed through a more critical lens, with us asking if they really are the heroes that our history textbooks told us about. On another note, there's the Israel-Palestine conflict. If you are to ask me, Israel is a colonialist power, and no number of years of anti-Semitism endured, no number of Jews murdered just for being Jews, no number of bullshit conspiracy theories that depict Jews as this all-powerful cabal that rule the world from the shadows will ever excuse Israel's colonialist policies. Trauma explains. It never excuses. Israel had invaded the Palestinians' land, forced them into camps, bombed them, exterminated them, and ran the propaganda machine that painted them as these bloodthirsty, savage monsters, especially when Palestinians predictably start to fight back with groups like Hamas wanting to chase the colonists out. To me, Israel is acting just like the Nazis that had oppressed them, keep the cycle of hatred and pain alive. They're just like the white settlers forced the natives out of their land and into squalid ghettos and depict them as inhuman savages when said natives inevitably lash out, even when there's more to gain than petty revenge. I am not saying that Israel deserves to be abolished as a nation. What I am saying is that Israel deserves to be boycotted as it is a colonialist nation that's actively partaking in the subjugation, ghettoization, defamation, extermination, and eventual extinction of its indigenous inhabitants. And it can only continue on that if it's given aid from the rest of the world. The same thing happened with South Africa's apartheid laws, with the rights of non-white South Africans like the native blacks were taken away bit by bit until the world stepped in and boycotted South Africa, which caused the abolition of apartheid. We've done this before, we can definitely do this again. And I'm not going to condone anti-Semitism. The Jews have been persecuted for centuries, if not millennia, and whenever I hear of the Jews this, the Jews that from right always want to turn a persecuted minority into an omnipotent scapegoat, I just get so sick and tired. At least come up with new material. While majority of the Jewish survivors of the Holocaust were able to realize that hatred drove the Nazis to commit evil that divorced them from humanity, the trauma of the founders of Israel turned into their own hatred that made them willing to stoop to the Nazis' level. The more hatred is in this world, the worse this world becomes. Nocturne shone a lens upon colonialism that is very relevant today. Next, I want to talk about what Season 2 is probably going to have. With Season 1's ending, Elizabeth has won, as she's gained Sekhmet's power in a magical girl transformation, manages to convert Terra like how she's converted her sister, create a magical eclipse, and the heroes are on the run after fight that feels like a remake of a scene of Ash trying to punch Mewtwo. However, Drolta got dehydrated by Alucard, who's already proved to be a powerful ally, especially the fact that he got 300 years of experience between the original series and Nocturne, so they now have a fighting chance. I'm feeling like how Edward was turned into a demon but his heart remained human. I feel like something similar will happen with Terra. She will deal with her thirst for blood and have to feed other fellow humans, but she will try to keep her humanity. I'm thinking that she'll try to help the gang any way she can, but she'll ultimately plan on killing herself as she can't bear to watch her daughter eventually age and die while she never ages. As for how Alucard is handled, there's always a danger that an overpowered character will end up forcing the rest of the cast to the sidelines. Perhaps he will help a party level grind until they reach the point where they're on similar levels to him. Or perhaps they take him out of the picture for a few episodes so that Richter, Maria, Edward, and Annette can shine in a way similar to Zeng from Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves. If you haven't watched Honor Among Thieves yet, you really need to watch it. It's everything you'd want from a D&D movie. The chaos from the human element of a player's, the zany adventures and mishaps, and what's at the core. a surprisingly mature narrative about a widowed single father learning to move on from his grief for his wife for the good of a daughter who doesn't even remember her birth mother. And anyways, one thing I could see is Alucard taking the gang to Belmont, where they can equip themselves with some Belmont heirlooms, like from Trevor's time, or before, or from the interim of Trevor and Richter, which will help in the long run. Perhaps recruit a few powerful allies. With Season 2, it feels like it could be the final season, as more often than not, the super dark cliffhanger ending is for the penultimate season, while the final season having a happy ending that wraps everything up. After all, the darkest hour of the night is before the dawn. It will end if Elizabeth killed, save the world, and guaranteed the Belmont bloodline will be continued. I would also like for Richter to have more character development, as he feels rather weak, trapped in Trevor's shadow. Of course, Richter's younger than Trevor, less experienced, but he's still far from the fearless Belmont that Trevor was. I'm not saying that Richter has to become just like Trevor, but you can see the lack of experience of how he reacts to certain situations. Honestly, I have high hopes for Season 2 of Castlevania Nocturne. In conclusion, Nocturne is a great series that deserves a watch in the second season. It mostly suffers from the high bar that its precursor set. Please check it out when you have a chance. Thanks for watching, and please remember to like, subscribe, and share for more content. Every view means so much to me. Please leave your thoughts in the comments section below and keep that comment section civil. Tyson out.